Taong 2016, mula nang maupo sa pagkapangulo, si Presidente Rodrigo Roa Duterte at ang isa sa kanyang mga pangako ay ang war on drugs.
Nakasan si tatay tapos yung pinasok sa iskinita sa may 20 na ngayon patay na. Marami pa tao dito. Marami pa tao. Magdalaman niya kabobo nila.
The Philippines hasn't seen a funeral like this in recent years for a 17-year-old student killed by police.
Every day the bodies of suspected dealers are discovered.
In fact, he was in jail. And yet, at 4 in the morning, he was served a search warrant and was supposed to have engaged in a firefight.
Police say the mayor pulled out a gun, forcing them to kill him.
How could he even have a gun? He was already in jail.
Pero ang hindi niya inaamin, hindi totoo, drama-drama lang yung kunyaring magbibitiw. Dahil lang totoo, gigindang maging diktador sa bayang ito, itong si Duterte. Pinapatay ninyo ang mamamayang Pilipino, hindi pa ba tayo lalaban?
President Duterte says the police must be investigated, an uncharacteristic admission from a man who says children are collateral damage in his campaign. They are poor and without a voice, but many say they have now found the courage to confront the police and demand justice.
Sana man po binigyan nyo ng karapatan na mabuhay. Sana po binaril nila sa paa. At least kahit pa paano po matatanggap ko.
Hindi po yan pinahintulutan ng gobyerno.
Rodrigo Roa Duterte, President of the Philippines.
Napakaganda ng bansang Pilipinas kung iisipin. Sariwang hangin, sagana sa likas na yaman, matataas na mga gusali, at napakaraming mga sasakyan. Maraming kainan, kasama ang mga kaibigan, kapamilya, at mga mahal sa buhay. Maliliwanag ng mga gabi, subalit ang hindi alam ng karamihan ay ang ibang kulay ng bansang Pilipinas. Ang kulay ng kahirapan, kung saan maraming mga bata ang nagugutom, marami ang namamatay, marami ang walang matirahan, marami ang naghihirap. Higit sa lahat, marami rin ang nalululong sa masamang bisyo.
You destroy my country, I'll kill you. And it's a legitimate thing. If you destroy our young children, I will kill you. That is a very correct statement. There is nothing wrong in trying to preserve the interest of the next generation.
Taong 2017 nang barilin si Kian de los Santos ng 3 armadong pulis na di kalaunan ay nahatulan din ng habang buhay na pagkakakulong. Ayon sa 3 pulis ay nanlaban raw umano si Kian, subalit iba ang pinapakita ng CCTV footage at ang testimonya ng mga saksi. Hindi rin nagtagal ay nahatulan ang 3 pulis ng habang buhay na pagkakakulong at napatunayan ang kanilang mga abuso sa kanilang kapangyarihan. Mula ng mga panahong ito, italamak na ang patayan. Marami ang nagsasabi na kagagawan raw ito ng oposisyon ng rehimong Duterte at marami rin ang naniniwala na dahil ito sa mga abuso ng mga ibang pulis.
What is drug addiction? Drug addiction, also called as substance use disorder, is a disease that primarily affects the person's brain function and behavior, which eventually leads to the inability of the person to control the use of either legal or illegal drugs and medications. When you're addicted to a certain substance, you always feel the need to continue using it despite the harm that it causes, either physically or mentally. Or you just can simply stop yourself from using it because your body or your entire system becomes too dependent on it. Drug addiction can start with the experimental use of recreational drugs in a social situation. For some people, the use of this drug becomes more frequent as time goes by. For others, particularly with opioids, drug addiction can begin with the exposure to prescribed drug, which can possibly be given by a family member, a relative, or a friend who has been prescribed that medication. Individuals may abuse almost any type of substance which can cause or which can result to a euphoric or high feeling. We are all aware that the abuse of legal substances like alcohol and illegal drugs like marijuana and cocaine are very common. But less well-known fact are inhalants like household cleaners and over-the-counter medications like cough and cold medicines are also some of the most commonly abused substances. Others include anabolic steroids, club drugs, cocaines, inhalants, marijuana, and methamphetamines. As you continuously use the drug, it will feel difficult to go on with your lifestyle or your daily routine without actually using it. And if you attempt to stop the use of this drug, this can result to intense cravings and you will feel physically ill, which can now result to withdrawal symptoms.
Sige, gumamit ka.
Pare.
Ano pare?
Ano sana ako, pwede ba akong mangutang sa'yo, pare?
Wala akong pera pare.
Sige na, pre, kailangan ko na talaga.
Wala nga pre.
Pre, sige.
Wala
Pre,
nga,
sige
wala
na, pre.
akong
Pre, babayaran ko naman agad eh. Sige na, pare.
Magkano bang kailangan mo pre?
Sige, pre, kung ano lang kaya mong bigay, pre. Sige na, pre.
Pare,
Sige
yung
na.
pera ko ang bili ng gatas ng anak ko eh.
Sige na, pre. Kailangan ko rin talaga.
Sige, sige pre, pagbigyan kita pre, pero bayaran mo to pre ha.
Oo, pre, babayaran ko agad, promise.
Promise yan ha.
Oo, pre, promise.
Kailan bayaran mo pre?
Basta pre, mababayaran ko yun.
Ito lang pera ko pare oh. Pambili ko to ng gatas sa anak ko.
Sige na, pare, kailangan ko talaga.
Ito lang ipairam ko sa'yo pare.
Sige, pare.
5,000. Okay na
Pare,
yun?
pwede na yun. Pwede na.
Pero bayaran mo ako pare ha.
Babayaran ko, pre. Salamat.
Oh, bilangin mo pare.
Salamat, pre.
But without it, people call it an addiction. Well, let's call it my normality. Sometimes, someone hurts you so bad, it stops hurting at all. Until something makes you feel again. But that is actually killing you. Deeper and deeper I fell within myself, and I can't find my way out. Everyone around me starts to distance themselves. Even my own family turned their back on me. Because the truth is, I am not your little girl anymore. I'm just someone who so does out. No one will understand how much it hurts. You can't help yourself. You can't even help yourself. You have the feeling that if you're not taking the drugs, the pain will never go away. It will never go away. Can't you see? I can't function without the drug in my system. I'm alone, broken, and helpless. But you know, when I take it for a few hours, I am numb from the world. Satisfied. I have no control over my life, so I turn to drugs as a way to cope. There's always something that pulls you back every time, and that's the feeling of being free.
I'll explain, no, itong drug abuse na to, no. So kasi itong drug abuse na to is a substantial problem in society today, and it is associated, no, with a significant morbidity and mortality. Therefore, itong mga various drugs, no, na kinaadikan ng mga kabataan ngayon are associated with serious complications affecting the brain. And it is critical na dapat ma-recognize natin itong mga complications na to so that we could provide the proper medical management. So now I'll explain. No, the central nervous system is a target organ drug for the abuse, no, as well as the specific prescribed medications. No, drugs of abuse that affects the CNS. No, ito yung mga common na tinatawag natin. For example, cocaine, no, heroin, alcohol, amphetamines, toluene, and cannabis. So now, explain ko bakit siya nagiging kinaadikan, no. So, sa brain natin, no, there is a natural pleasure sensor that releases dopamine. Now, when something good happens, for example, when we enjoy a nice meal with our friends, family, yan, yung brain natin nag-release tayo ng dopamine. And when drugs, no, are introduced into the body, they stimulate this natural chemical release. So now ito yung issue. So this is where the issue lies physiologically. As more drugs are used, the brain depends on these higher levels of dopamine. Therefore, nalilesen niya to yung initial effect or yung pagiging high na tinatawag ng isang individual. Now, when this happens, the brain reaches a tolerance level for the altered stimulation of dopamine, and ang next step natin is, gusto ng katawan natin is mag-want more. So then, the more of the drug is needed to achieve the same high effect. So kailangan, since nag-develop tayo ng tolerance, so the next na dose na kukunin natin, dapat mas pataas na to achieve yung pagiging high ulit, no? So this is when the chronic use of drugs begins to develop to an addiction. Drug addiction, unlike other diseases, no, is a chronic disease as well, no, just like any other. It does not ever go away. However, it can be treated, and it's a matter of just the willpower, no, or choice ng isang individual Although the initial decision to start using a drug is a choice, yung chronic nature of the disease itself makes it very difficult to rein in. Kasi relapse can happen. No? Kahit gumaling ka na, pwede ka pang bumalik ulit. And that's why drug addiction is very hard to treat. And there are many factors to consider when looking at the drug or alcohol addiction. Pwedeng one's environment, it can have an effect. For example, yung child reared in a home when there is drug abuse, they will be more likely to move into the same path. Next is sa mga kabataan, especially peer pressure is also a factor for youth. There are also biological reasons for drugs to become an addiction, tulad din ng mental disorder. However, the good news is that regardless of what factors play into the addiction, there is a solution to this disease.
Good afternoon, I'm Belinda Jordan Chica. So I will discuss to you about the prevention of drug addiction or drug abuse. So I will state here some principles as discussed by National Institute on Drug Abuse. So for principle number 1, this states here that the risk of becoming a drug abuser involves the relationship among the number and the risk factors. For example, the behavior of a person. Okay, the next principle is that prevention programs should address all forms of drug abuse, alone or in combination, including the underage use of legal drugs such as tobacco or alcohol. The use of illegal drugs, for example, is marijuana, and the inappropriate use of illegally obtained substances, for example, is the inhalants or yung mga ini-inhale natin, and then the prescription medications or over-the-counter drugs. For principle number 3, we have here the prevention program should address the type of drug abuse problem in the local community, target modifiable risk factors, and strengthen and identify protective factors. The next principle is a principle that states that prevention programs should be tailored to address risks specific to population or audience characteristics such as age, gender, and ethnicity to improve program effectiveness. So these 4 principles fall under risk factors and protective factors. The next factor or na i-discuss natin principle is a family program. As we all know, ang impact ng family sa isang bata. Kapag hindi ito naalagaan ng mabuti, pwede itong manihis ng landas. For example, kunwari si nanay, si tatay, hindi niya pinapantayan ng kanyang anak, not knowing na anak niya magamit na pala ng rugby or mga illegal drugs, diba? So, malaki ang impact ng parents sa anak nila. I will discuss here the different principles under family programs. So, for principle number 1 under family program, family-based prevention programs should enhance family bonding and relationships, include parenting skills, practice in developing, discussing, and enforcing family policies on substance abuse, and training in drug education and information. Okay, so nakita natin na malaki ang impact ng parents sa anak nila. So, in the first place, dapat talaga ang parents ang mag-educate sa mga anak nila about this matter. So, family bonding is a bedrock of the relationship between parents and children. Bonding can be strengthened through skills training on parent supportiveness of children, parent-child communication, and parental involvement. So, under this, we have parental monitoring and supervision are critical for drug abuse prevention. Ayun nga, so kailangan minomonitor talaga ng parents ang kanilang mga anak. And these skills can be enhanced with training on rule setting, techniques for monitoring activities, praise for appropriate behavior, and moderate, consistent discipline that enforces defined family rules. So, next one is the drug education information for parents or caregivers reinforces what children are learning about the harmful effects of drugs and opens opportunity for family discussions about the abuse of legal and illegal substances. So, it is important na magkaroon ng discussion ang family about this matter. Una pa lang kailangan na masabihan na yung anak nila, ma-warningan na about this. Brief family-focused interventions for the general population can positively change specific parenting behavior that can reduce later risk of drug abuse. So the next one is the school programs. Under this there are different principles such as prevention programs can be designed to intervene as early as preschool to address risk factors for drug abuse such as aggressive behavior, poor social skills, and academic difficulty. So under this, we have self-control, emotional awareness, communication, social problem solving, and academic support, especially in reading. Then the next principle we have is prevention programs for middle or junior high and high school students should increase academic and social competence with the following skills, which are study habits and academic support, communication, peer relationships, self-efficacy and assertiveness, drug resistance skills, reinforcement of anti-drug attitudes, and strengthening of personal commitments against drug abuse. The next one is a community program. So under community program, we have different principles such as community prevention programs that combine two or more effective programs such as family-based program and school programs and can be more effective than a single program alone. And community prevention programs searching populations in multiple settings, for example, schools, clubs, faith-based organizations, and the media are most effective when they present consistent community-wide messages in each setting. So, mga programs, mga different programs and principles na ating diniscuss, these are just additional knowledge sa atin kung paano natin mapapababa ang increasing rate ng mga taong gumagamit ng illegal drugs. And meron tayong different programs. We have here the risk factors, protective factors, school programs, family programs, community programs, which are very important sa ating mga anak. And it can also affect our relationship to others. So, okay. And also, especially yung future natin. Okay. So, okay. The next one, we will discuss about the negative effects ng paggamit ng illegal drugs sa ating health and also sa ating pamumuhay as a person. Okay. So, as we all know naman, ang paggamit ng drugs, lalo na kung maaga kang gumamit ng drugs, maapektuhan nito yung the way you think, yung brain mo, especially yung brain mo. It can affect different parts of your brain. Okay, so maapektuhan yung memory mo, etc. And also, mas mapapaaga, mas mapapaikli yung buhay ng tao sa paggamit ng illegal drugs. Alam naman natin mga negative effects niyan. Oo, let's say na magkakaroon ka ng temporary kaginhawaan. Feeling mo, nanahay ka, nasa cloud ka. Gamit ang illegal drugs, pinapaikli nito ang buhay natin. So, hindi lang naman ang health natin ang naapektuhan ng illegal drugs. Actually, ang buong pagkatao natin, way of living, relationship natin sa iba, etc. Our future, our dreams, lahat. Okay, so, for example, si tatay gumagamit ng drugs. Naapektuhan yung way of thinking niya, mabilis siyang magalit, mairita. Okay, so, pwede yun mauwi sa divorce. Pwede magkaroon ng misunderstanding within the family. Pwede mawalan siya ng trabaho. Maraming factors ang makakaapekto sa paggamit ng illegal drugs. So let's go naman sa mga batang maagang gumagamit ng drugs. Obviously, maapektuhan ang kanilang future, ang kanilang studies. And kapag mas maaga ka na paggamit ng illegal drugs, mas maaga ka din. Alam naman natin lahat yun. Yung effect niyan sa katawan natin is not a joke. Okay? So, pwede din na... So, magkakaroon ka din ng mga negative behavior. Ma-adapt mo yung mga negative behavior. Minsan, magiging worse pa. High ka, pwede kang makagawa ng mga bagay na hindi mo naman dapat gawin. Na pwede mong pagsisihan sa huli. So, ayun, behavior. Ma-adapt mo yung mga negative behavior. Minsan, magiging worse pa. High ka, pwede kang makagawa ng mga bagay na hindi mo naman dapat gawin. Na pwede mong pagsisihan sa huli. So, ayun, so clearly alam natin yung impacts ng pagkakaroon ng mga programs, ng mga prevention programs, ng communication within a family, yung pag-educate ng parents sa kanilang mga anak. That is very, very. So clearly alam natin yung impacts ng pagkakaroon ng mga programs, ng mga prevention programs, ng communication within a family, yung pag-educate ng parents sa kanilang mga anak. That is very, very drug abuse. Bisitahin na lang natin yung website na aking ginawang reference, which is National Institute on Drugs or on Drug Abuse. So,
my name is Lacey Perry and I'll be tackling about the Dangerous Drug Board. So, Dangerous Drug Board, or also known as the DDB, leads the campaign against the drug abuse and illicit trafficking in the Philippines. So it was established in the 1972 throughout the Republic Act 6425 and is composed of only 7 national government agencies as the members. So in the year 2002, the law was repealed by the Republic Act 9165 or the Comprehensive Dangerous Drugs Act of 2002. So it gives more teeth to the law and to respond to the new challenges against the drugs. So the law mandates the DDB to develop and adopt the comprehensive, integrated, unified, balanced national drug abuse prevention and control strategy. So it is composed of 17 ex officio members who are the heads or the secretaries of the other government agencies in the countries. The country's illicit drug crisis is real and widespread. It is destroying our society's moral fabric and harming almost all, including the young children in elementary schools. So it has turned to a national security threat. The drug policy, which focuses mainly on the demand and supply reduction, seems to be failing. So the demand for the illicit drugs, on the other hand, continues to rise. To make things worse, there seems to be always an abundant supply of prohibited drugs despite the government's vigorous efforts to stamp it out. Methamphetamine hydrochloride, locally known as shabu, for example, which was first detected in the Philippines in the early 80s. It has gained tremendous popularity and it now ranks as the primary choice among the drug abusers nationwide. Cannabis or marijuana, 57%, was found to be the most commonly abused dangerous drugs rather, followed by the methamphetamine hydrochloride or the shabu, which only has a 35%. A qualified information from the Philippine National Police considers the Philippines primarily due to its strategic location as the key transshipment point for illicit drugs from a source country to other parts of the world. Its vantage location relative to other countries in the Asia-Pacific region makes it convenient passageway. The long and irregular coastline of more than 7,000 islands comprising of the archipelago provides the convenient smuggling routes. So for the past decade, the trend in the abuse of illicit drugs has increased dramatically. So under the law, those who were caught has been importing, selling, manufacturing, and using the illegal drug for its form may be fined and imprisoned for at least 12 years to a lifetime, depending on the severity of the crime. So for the lifetime users, on the average age when most of them started trying drugs is 22 years old. Of the current users, on the other hand, most belong to the age group of 18 to 59 years old. So since the law was passed at the time the death penalty was still applicable, it is the maximum punishment imposed by the original law. This, however, is most at present at the death penalty was already abolished in 2006. So, if such strict law was passed 14 years ago in 2002, the question remains, why does a billion drug industry remain unstoppable? that's the question that I have for you guys. Thank you for listening the Dangerous Drug Report. Thank you so much.
What are the treatment and rehabilitation treatment approaches? Treatment for drug addiction and alcoholism, there's no one-size-fits-all approach to achieving a sustained recovery from addiction. Everyone develops their addiction for unique biological, psychological, and social reasons. The harm that addiction causes is specific to each individual too. Successful treatment incorporates multiple components targeting particular aspects of the illness and its consequences. The first step is abstinence. For substance abusers, this may involve medically supervised detoxification to relieve the sometimes life-threatening physical effects of withdrawal. Some people in recovery may benefit from medication that reestablishes normal brain function, diminishes cravings, or treats coexisting mental health problems. Medication-assisted therapies such as methadone, Suboxone, or Vivitrol may be prescribed. Mental health therapy is another possible component in a successful recovery plans and helps modifying attitudes and behaviors related to addiction. Common approaches includes cognitive behavior therapy, motivational interviewing, couples and family counseling, and working with a recovery coach. Peer support groups can be an invaluable source of guidance, assistance, and encouragement for individuals in recovery as well as for family and friends impacted by the addiction. 12-step programs like Alcoholics Anonymous and its many offshoots are among the best-known peer support options. Their approach doesn't work for everyone, and meetings may be geographically inaccessible. So alternatives such as Smart Recovery, Moderation Management, Secular Organization for Sobriety, and others have evolved thanks to social media. Many of them are online, where they afford the added benefits of being available 24/7, allowing participants to remain anonymous. The most important thing is to find support structure that works best for the person in recovery.